All right, it's go time. Okay, so hi, kings and queens. Welcome to Spillin' Honey, the podcast that encourages you to spill it, honey. And on today's episode, we will be diving into probably a little bit more of I would say, I guess, a more serious topic, or I guess it is more serious, but even more, it is such a necessary topic, especially being as though I just now thought about it earlier, that it is also Mental Health Awareness Month. Um, Again, the month of May being Mental Health Awareness Month, and it just dawned on me, and I just think that just this is such a great time for this topic. And that topic is anxiety, depression, and we'll also touch on a little bit of shyness or just general social discomfort or social anxiety that most people have. So, just a little synopsis. This episode will be titled It's Not You, It's Me, because this is something that I feel like a lot of people that struggle with anxiety and depression and other mental health issues want a lot of people to understand that it's not you, it is me. Um, but with that said, I just want to take a quick moment before I dive into this episode, just to give a small little dedication or a small shout out, if you will, to my uncle, my goddaddy, my all that wrapped up in one, Pastor Herbert L. Bartley II. Pastor Bartley, unfortunately passed away on the 9th of May, and he was just a very pivotal figure in my life. Like I said, he was literally my dad's best friend, and he was my uncle, goddaddy, all that wrapped up in one person. So I just wanted to take a moment just to say that I pray that you rest in eternal peace. I have no doubt about where your soul went, because you were everybody's spiritual advisor. You were such a good person. You were a light to everybody who came in contact with you. But also, I just want to take this moment, most importantly, to just tell people, and this is really a message to myself, but specifically to tell the listeners to stand on business. And what I mean by that is to do what you said that you were going to do. Don't wait to do anything, because tomorrow is not promised. And what I mean by that is I had told my mother and my father that I wanted to reach out to him, to get him to do an episode with me. I was going to get him to do an episode as a part of my religious segment, because I know that he would have been someone who would have kept it real with me in terms of religion. And then also because he is someone who has known me my entire life, I knew that he was going to approach it from a level that was so real and so raw. It wasn't going to be fake or phony, or he wasn't going to put up a wall or anything like that. And the crazy part about it is, I had his number. I talked to him on a personal level. He has done business with me and supported my brand. And I could have easily reached out to him, and I did not do it. So and now, of course, obviously it is too late because he has passed on. So with that said, I just want to take a moment to tell you, I guess, to tie it all into this episode, don't let your anxiety, don't let your fear, don't let anything get in the way of what you said that you were going to do. Stand on business and do exactly what you were going to do. I also want to take this moment to, fortunately but unfortunately, give him his flowers. And the reason why I say unfortunately is because all too often I feel like we wait until it is entirely too late to give someone their flowers. Um, and of course, when they are 6 feet under, they can't hear the applause. So if you have someone in your life that means something to you, please give them their flowers now while you can, instead of waiting until it's too late. The last point that I want to make, in his memory, is for anyone that may have relationship strain or friendship strain or anything. Please take that time to mend what's broken, because life is so short. Like, literally, you can be here today and gone tomorrow. So at any chance that you have, please, please, please mend whatever you can. I'm not saying that every relationship or every friendship or whatever deserves to be mended, but if God has put it on your heart to mend a relationship with someone, please do that now while you have the chance. It is literally scripture. We tend to take it for granted, saying, "Oh, well, I'll just do it tomorrow. Oh, I don't feel like doing it today. I'm upset. I'll just do it tomorrow." But it is literally scripture, and I'm actually going to read it, because a lot of people are like, "Oh, people always say it's scripture, it's scripture, it's scripture," but they can never give you the scripture. So I'm going to take a moment just to read a brief scripture before I dive into my episode, and introduce my guest and go into my questions and my topic for today. So the scripture that I am reading, it is from James. It is from James, and it is from chapter 4, and it is verses 13 through 17. And just FYI to any listeners, I prefer to read from the NIV or the ESV, or the NLT, which those are basically the translations of the Bible that are a little bit more plain. They're in more plain English, just because they are easier for me to comprehend. So again, I will be reading from the NIV, which is the New International Version, and that is James, chapter 4, verses 13 through 17, and it says, "Now listen, you who say, today or tomorrow we will go to this or that city, spend a year there, carry on business, and make money." It says, "Why you do not even know what will happen tomorrow." It says, "What is your life? You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." It says, "Instead, you ought to say, if it is the Lord's will, we will live and do this or that." It says, "As it is, you boast in your arrogant schemes. All such boasting is evil." It says, "If anyone then knows the good they ought to do and doesn't do it, it is sin for them." So, in other words, just to break that down a little further to someone who may be a little confused in hearing that, it's basically telling you, to everyone who says, "Oh, tomorrow I'll do this, tomorrow I'll do that, I'm going to go do this, I'm going to go do that." It's literally saying you have no idea what will happen tomorrow. You have no idea if you'll be here tomorrow. It's basically saying to you, tomorrow is not promised. And there's a specific part of that scripture that I really want to point out. It says, "You are a mist that appears for a little while and then vanishes." In other words, we are here for a very short time. We all have an appointed day and time, and so that is why I wanted to take that moment, again, just to shout out my spiritual father, my godfather, my uncle, my all that wrapped up in one man, to shout him out because, again, his life was cut short. I do know that, of course, his life was cut short, but that he lived his life, for God's glory. And I have no doubt, where his soul went, but his life was short. And I am speaking on it because I missed the opportunity to do what I said that I was going to do, and I did not stand on it. So that is my piece of advice for you all. Do not let anything, not anxiety, not fear, not, "Oh, I'm scared. What if they say no?" Don't let any of that get in the way of doing something that you said that you were going to do. In that moment, I was not obedient. That was something that kept coming in my head, and I kept saying that I was going to do it, and I did not do it. So I just want to take that moment again to say, rest in heavenly peace to you. I love you, and I love everyone that is listening. And please, 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 if you don't hear anything else, just I just want you to know that you literally regret 100% of the chances that you don't take. So that if you don't listen to anything else that I just said, just know that you miss 100% of the chances that you don't take. So just take the chance, ask the person, do the podcast, whatever it is that you want to do, that you're trying to do. Please do it. Please don't wait, because tomorrow is not promised. I am literally telling you, from personal experience, something that I did not do with someone that is no longer here to do it with me. It's not like I can call him and be like, oh yeah, I missed out last week. I meant to hit you up last week. No, I can't hit him up ever again. Not until I depart from this world and prayerfully my soul goes to heaven. That is the only time that I will ever be able to connect with him ever again. So please, 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 please take all the chances you can, take all the risk, do whatever it is that you want to do. I don't care how crazy you look or sound to anybody. If it is something that you want to do, go for it and don't wait on it, because again, tomorrow is not promised. With that said, I do kind of want to switch gears a little bit and then dive into the episode, which I am doing with one of my favorite people on God's green earth, my brother.
Ah!
And so I just want to go ahead and dive right into the questions. So my first question for you is, how would you describe depression or anxiety? You can describe both, you can describe one, you can give a little synopsis of each, whatever you feel comfortable with.
I want to start before I even jump into how I view things. I am not a doctor. I will be speaking on my personal experience and how I feel about depression and anxiety. So don't listen to this and say, Cedric said do this, or Cedric said this is what depression is, because it looks different for everybody.
Right.
Um, what depression looks like to me, what anxiety looks like to me. So I have suffered from depression for as long as I can remember. So I, I feel like I've always kind of felt like this. So I kind of feel like it's biological. I have talked to therapists. I have talked to psychologists. I have taken antidepressants. I have went down all of these different routes, and it's kind of, I'm still here. Um, so to answer your question, depression, I guess the best way to put it, just imagine a small boat and like a dark, still water, and you're by yourself. And it feels empty. It feels empty. You feel alone. You feel like you're unable to make decisions to get you to whatever next step that you have to do. So if it's even waking up, you lack the motivation to do that. That's what depression looks like to me. Anxiety for me is just fear. It's I have crippling social anxiety. When I say crippling, I'm saying when I go in the grocery store, my body is in a state of fear, and I don't know why. It's like I can't breathe. I'm like, I don't know what scared me this bad, but that's what anxiety and depression look like for me.
And hey, and that's a good way. That is a great way to describe it. And it's crazy because a lot of the times I feel I feel the same way. And for me, as a person who will openly or has openly said, even on previous episodes, I have said that I am more of a person that suffers from, I do feel like I have very bad social anxiety. I feel like it's crazy because I feel like the older I get, like the worse it's gotten. I feel like when I was a little girl, I don't feel like it was bad. I feel like when I was a little girl, I was so much more confident. But then I feel like as I got older and I think I started getting in school and like I started getting more self conscious and people were being mean and I just started to like shut down. And I know that kind of sounds like a cop out, but again, just like Sophie said earlier, um, this is just my interpretation of it. It's just like I shut down and I just got afraid to like open up, like just out of fear of oh what they gonna judge me about now. So it's just like you rather just shut up and shut down, and at least if you judge me, you can't say I said anything because I'm quiet. Versus I say something and then you use it against me. Um,
So just to quickly interject myself and
mhm,
piggyback off what you just said,
right.
you said it happened when you were at school. Like, is this elementary school, middle school? Was this like as you
Uh,
got older?
for me, I feel like it kind of started in elementary school because you know, like when you get, yeah, when you get to a level where you start going to school and it's like, it's different from when I'm trying to see how I can put this. Basically, it's different from like when you're at home or when you're around your family and you have people who love you and they're constantly pouring into you and they're like, you're handsome, you're beautiful, you're this and that. And then you go to school and then somebody like, you ugly, you fat, you dark, you this, you that, or whatever it is. And then you try to, as a kid at least, everything that you say bounces off of me and sticks to you, all the little things that we used to say. But in reality, over time, if people keep saying it to you, you can only block it out of your head for so long, to the point if let me rephrase that. If you're not strong enough, you can only block it out of your head so much, to the point where it starts to consume you. And then you're like, well, maybe I am ugly. Well, maybe I am dark. Well, maybe I am this. Well, maybe I am that. And then you internalize those things and it just makes you have anxiety. Now you walk outside and you like, oh my
Was
God,
dark
they looking at me
used
like that.
as a way to tear somebody down? Because it's nothing wrong with being dark.
Yeah,
Like
well,
it
I
was.
mean, for me, yes, it was. For me, it was a way. Well, at least the way that I took it. This is my journey, and this is
Yeah,
your
yeah,
journey.
yeah.
So we talking about our journeys, people. We're not talking about everybody. So I don't need y'all coming for us. This is my journey. For me, yes, it was used as a way to tear me down because, of course, me and you, we share a father, but we have different mothers. So for me, having two parents that were lighter complected, and then here I am, people use my color against me all the time. Or people would be like, oh, you look just like your mama but dark. Oh, you look just like your daddy but dark. And I'm like, okay, well, what's wrong with dark? Dark isn't a problem. And then even,
Mm.
specifically on one side of my family, um it's, to me, it's very known, like, colorism on that side. It's like, all of the lighter people walk around like they better than the darker people. And even one of my aunties on that side, before she passed away, she used to tell me all the time. She used to be like, oh, if grandma was alive, grandma wouldn't like you because you dark, because grandma didn't like
What?
me and I was dark.
What?
So on that side, we had a grandmother, and like, I'm not, I'm trying my best not to say her name, just to protect, my family members, because this is not anything against them. I don't need them mad at me, but this is the truth.
That's very
She
ignorant. First off, that
It
is very
is,
ignorant, and that's something even bigger that we need to unpack within the Black community.
and
That is,
exactly, and it
and I
is.
know this is, we don't curse on this podcast, so I won't say
Oh
what I
yes,
really want to say.
yes, yes, we do.
But
Yes,
that
yes,
is
we
some
do.
true BS that was said to you as a kid. That's really traumatizing, and
It
that is
it
has a lot to
is.
do with why you feel like that. That's
It
effed
it
up.
is. It is. And cursing is fine. I want people to be as authentic as possible. So cursing is fine. It does not bother me. However, yeah, she did tell me that, and that was her experience. And she was like, grandma wouldn't have liked you because grandma didn't like anybody that was dark. And the sad part about it is, uh, grandma was dark. However, uh, grandma, you know, had lighter children, all except for one. All of her children are very fair skinned, and except for one child, and that child was of course my auntie, and she felt the difference. She felt the difference between her and her siblings, and my heart goes out to her. But even like on that side of
Can
my,
I?
huh? What'd you say?
I
Go
just
ahead.
want to stop you really quick too. As you say, my heart goes out to you. I am so sorry that you went through that as well. I don't know if anybody ever stopped and said, "Hey, Brittany, I am so sorry about that," because that is really messed up. I didn't even know that that type of stuff was getting said to you. So
Oh yeah,
that's
definitely, yeah, yeah, yeah. But it's okay. Like it's no need to apologize. It's just it's the truth, and it's the truth in a lot of African American families. There is not just colorism just in my family. It's colorism in everybody's family in some way, shape, or form. And that is a topic that I will dive into at some point of this podcast. I definitely want a topic on colorism and light skin versus dark skin and different things like that, because that is something that plagues the African American community and has plagued the African American community, and honestly even beyond the African American community, because even in like Hispanic communities and stuff, or even Oriental communities, darker people in their communities are also frowned upon and shunned and humiliated as well a lot of the time. There's a lot of division, between Afro Latinas and traditional Latinas, and I don't mean that in a disrespectful way, but the way that society views a traditional Latin woman, somebody that, and again, this is not, I'm not trying to be offensive, I'm not trying to hurt any feelings, but, you know, most people, when they think Latina woman, they think Jennifer Lopez, or Rosie Perez, or, somebody that is fairer, or Selena, you know what I mean? Somebody that is fairer in complexion. And you see things like this in popular culture, for example, with people like Amara Lenegra, and I'm not trying to use any of these people's names for clout or anything like that, but she has even talked on, if you watch Love and Hip Hop, she has even talked over and over, like, oh, I'm always made to feel bad because I'm, an Afro Latina. So it's not just happening in our communities, but I think, to me, just from my perspective, it seems to be a little more heightened in the African American community. Again, I'm not Latina, so I can't speak for it. It may be just as heightened, but for some reason, I don't get that. I only get that it's like super, super heightened, like it's such a big deal in our communities. And I guess because, literally, as I stated, because I was a child that grew up and I am the product of two fair skinned parents and I am brown, it it was always an issue. Like, it was always at the forefront. I could never just be, oh, you so pretty. It's always, oh, you pretty for a dark girl. So it's like it just made me like, what is wrong with that? So again, I had a lot of, getting back to anxiety. I literally have a lot of anxiety around my skin and my complexion and stuff like that. And it really became an issue for me, and it became a self-hate, if you will. And speaking of like depression and anxiety, I feel like one of the things that black people in particular, specifically black women, a lot of times our depression can show up as self-hate, and a lot of people don't know that, but our depression can show up as self-hate, to where you looking at everybody else and you feeling like, oh, I don't look like that, so I'm not beautiful. And that can literally cause you to be one of the most anxious, one of the most depressed people, because you looking at these people and you like, I don't look like them. Like, and I promise you, it honestly, it took for my mom to kind of like make me realize that it was a problem for me, because nobody else brought it to my attention when I would say stuff like, oh, people would be like, oh, you so pretty. And I'd be like, oh, thanks, I guess, and then I'll be like, oh, I wish I looked like
Oh, you
somebody,
would say that?
right. Like, I wish I looked like my mom, or I wish I looked like this person, or I wish I was as pretty as whoever. I'm just picking a name out of a hat.
That is
I wish I was as
so,
pretty as
that's so sad. I
Cardi,
will start crying on this podcast.
or
That's so sad.
something
That's
like that.
sad.
Oh no, don't cry. It's my truth. I
Yeah.
trust me. I cried enough tears for the both of us on that subject. So you don't have to cry about it. But
But the fact that you were programmed that way, the fact that that was what you were naturally going to, and nobody stepped in at that time and said, hey, Brittany, that's not how you're supposed to feel. Because it
right,
sounds to me that this went on for a long time.
it went
You
on.
didn't,
It went on for a while, but it took for my mom to be like, "Girl, like, is you serious?" Like, it, my mom, as a light skinned woman, literally looked me dead in my face and was like, "Are you serious? Like, just because somebody light skinned does not make them cute. Just because somebody light skinned does not make them beautiful." And then she went into, she was like, so you think your grandma ugly? You think your auntie's ugly? You think this person and that person? And again, this is where again, people have to understand how to differentiate or how to separate anxiety and depression from like just regular things. And what I mean by that is this: I understand where she was coming from, and I understand what she was saying to me. Like, when you saying that you ugly, but you look just like your grandma, you saying that your grandma is ugly. But I'm like, listen, what you fail to understand is anxiety and depression doesn't tell you that your grandmother is ugly. Because in my eyes, my grandma is one of the most beautiful women ever, and my auntie is one of the most beautiful women ever, and all the women in my family are. I think everybody is beautiful. Everybody in my family, genuinely feel like I don't have anybody ugly in my family at all, and that's just my personal preference.
but it's,
But
I think
but my
what
thing,
your mom's point was too, like, imagine being a Smurf. A Smurf is a blue person. If you're a village full of blue people and you're saying, no, the other blue people, they look beautiful, but me, my blue skin, it's a problem.
right,
It's,
and that's what she was saying. But my thing is, again, this goes into this ties into your own anxiety and your own depression and your own self-hate. This has nothing to do with them. I don't think that they're ugly. It was my own self-hatred that I am still to this day. I am a lot better. I do see beauty in myself, but I still got a long way to go. But it's my own personal self hatred of me. It has nothing to do with them. And that's what I was trying to get her to understand. People don't realize that, again, depression shows up in a lot of black women, specifically black people, but I'm speaking as a black woman. It shows up. One of the symptoms is self-hate. It's self-hate, meaning I hate me. I don't hate them. I think they're beautiful, but I hated me because I was taught
mm-hmm.
to believe that it was something wrong with me because my skin was not the complexion, again, of like a Cardi B, or the complexion of my mother, the woman who gave birth to me, or the complexion of my father, the person who was also responsible for my birth as well, or responsible for part of the process, rather. But that was just my own self-hatred, and that is just something that, like I said, I wanted to bring to the forefront. That
Can I,
Go ahead.
I want to ask a follow-up question, because you said this is an open discussion. We're going to be
Right,
authentic.
right, right.
Um, and this is because I noticed you said this was me and this is a black woman thing. Do you think that falls in line with desirability? Like, is that how you feel like a man would feel about you? Did you feel like, dang, now that I'm dark on your terms, this makes me undateable, or this makes me not be approachable.
That's a great question. And yes, I felt like it tied into that as well. But you also got to understand my plight. You got to understand, majority of my life, except for my, formative years. And when I mean formative, I mean like young, like elementary education. I went to several different elementary schools and stuff. And when I first started out, in my, former years rather, um, I started out at like predominantly black schools, but as I got older, I went to predominantly white schools. So, of course, all of the guys that I found attractive either found, and this is no disrespect, this is no shade, again, this is my walk and my journey. They either found white girls attractive or they found lighter skinned girls attractive. It was never me. You see what I'm saying? So then again, it made me like, okay, what is it about me? Or I would literally hear certain guys say, "Oh, like, oh yeah, I don't date girls like that. I only date white girls with red hair." Like literally, and these are
I have
words that
so
I
many
heard
views on that,
out
that I'm probably just not going to say on here because they
of the
might
mouth
be offensive to people.
of yeah, these are things that I literally heard out of the mouth of guys that I found attractive. So yeah, it did make me feel like I wasn't desirable. And like trust me, my mama can vouch for that. My mama be like randomly, because again, I'm not saying I'm perfect. I'm not saying I'm totally over it. I still have my days where I struggle and I do not feel beautiful. And my mama would be like, "Girl, it is so many men out here who date darker skinned women." My mama is like, "Girl, you is beautiful. I wish you would understand that." And I'm like, again, it has nothing to do with you. It's not a diss to you, because it's crazy. People think I am like, my people have no idea where I come from, because when I tell you I come from like two of the most confident, the most confident, the most big headed, respectfully, parents ever. Like you cannot tell them that they is not the best thing since sliced bread. And I feel like that is exactly how you should be. I feel like you should be confident in yourself and stuff. And I do feel like I have come a long way. And I do find things about myself beautiful, and I have learned to appreciate a lot of the things about myself. But that was something that I really, 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 really struggle with. I'm talking about like real bad. Like as a child, I used to make my mama, when we used to go to the hair store, I used to make her buy me like all the ambi creams and different stuff like that to try to put it on my skin. And she used to be like, "Don't you waste my money. I promise I'm not gonna waste your money. I promise I'm gonna use it. I'm gonna use it." Because I remember that Alicia Keys used to be like years ago a spokesperson for like Ambi. So I wanted it so bad. I wanted the Ambi cream. And again, to Ambi, please don't shoot the messenger. I'm not trying to, throw dirt on y'all name. This is my personal walk. So any Ambi company people that may come across this episode, this is no shade to y'all
What
company.
what
But
to
but
follow up on that, Ambi is not for true skin lightening. It is for hyperpigmentation, which are dark spots
right.
on the skin.
Exactly. Exactly. However, people were getting it and they were using it because it was, people were promoting it as like a lightener or whatever. And it is for hyperpigmentation, yes. And I was putting it on my skin. And this is why this is just a note. And again, I feel like I'm going to touch on this even further during the episodes and things that I do on, colorism and different things like that. But I would go and get the ambi cream and all those different lighteners and different things that they had and put that stuff on my skin. And I promise you, it felt like I took a match and and,
Yeah.
and literally set my skin on fire. And I promise you, it always did that to my skin. And again, my viewpoints, Ambi, please don't come for me. This is just my viewpoints and my experience. But I would take that stuff and put it on my skin, and literally it would feel like I literally set my face or my skin or my arms
It's
ablaze. And I felt like that was God's way of telling me, you need to appreciate the skin you in. I made you the way you are for a reason. Stop doing that stuff. So immediately I had to stop doing it because my skin kept rejecting it. It literally
it's it's a high concentration of hydroquinone. Hydroquinone is stripping the layers of the skin, so
right.
everything would burn after that.
Right, exactly. And that is exactly what it was doing. It was literally frying my skin. I'm like dead serious. It was frying my skin. Again, Ambi, don't come for me, but it's the truth. It was frying my skin. And I just felt like that was my sign. Um, that was my sign that it just, you need to appreciate exactly who I made you. I made you exactly who you are. I made you exactly the complexion you are. Who would have thought that two light skinned people would have had a dark skinned child? Only God could have did something like that. So yeah, that was my walk. And yes, to go back to your question, yes, it did shape the way that I looked at, myself or being marketable or dateable because of my upbringing and because of the type of guys that I were around. Also, that tied into the fact that, they don't want me. They want exotic girl. They want
Can I ask you
the
a
standard
question?
girl. Uh-huh.
And I love that we're having this discussion. First off,
Right.
you mentioned the guys that you like. When you were talking, you said because those were the guys I like. Did they have a certain appearance too? Were those dark skinned men, or did you prefer a lighter colored man yourself?
I went through stages, okay? So I went through stages. So when I first started like elementary around that time, because I was around predominantly black, I actually did prefer darker skinned guys. And then they would be so mean to me. Like it was like a heightened level of mean to me. Like I don't know why like black people are so mean to each other, but the reality is they would be so mean to me and make me feel like I was the worst thing in the world. So then I was like, when I was younger, again, I felt like I had a little bit more confidence. This is why I say, like, over time, I felt like my anxiety got worse. And I just feel like it's just like life. And as you go through life, sometimes it'll just get the best of you. So um, I I really did like darker skinned guys. That was my preference. I liked them, but they were so mean to me. They would always put me down. They'll make me feel bad. I don't like you. I don't like girls that look like you, blah, blah, blah. And so I was like, whatever, whatever. I'm going to just move on. So then I went through a phase for years, for a long time, where I was like, and again, this is my personal preference. This is no shade. But I went through, if he ain't right, he ain't right. And I was like
Mm.
obsessed with lighter guys because I was like, I don't know what it was. I don't know if I was looking for a man. People always say, oh, girls be looking for a man like they dad. I don't know if that's what it was. I don't know what it was, but I was obsessed. I just had this huge obsession with light skinned men. And it was so crazy because one of my old, I guess you would call her an associate. I don't necessarily know if we were like friends. I think I tried to be friends with her, but again, going back to my awkwardness and my social anxiety, I feel like every time I try real hard to be friends with people, it never lands. So,
Mm-hmm.
me and her was talking in college one day, and me and her ended up getting real cool. And she said something to me, and I promise you, I took that and ran with it. I'm not even gonna lie, because she is actually a lighter skinned girl. She is mixed. Her mom is white and her dad is black. And me and her was talking one day, and she actually prefers darker skinned men. Like she was like, I don't like light skinned men. She's talking about, baby, I need that contrast. She's talking about, baby, it ain't nothing better than the contrast of a dark skinned man on me. So I was like, okay, I'm still in that, but I'm doing it in reverse. So that's why I said, I was like, baby, if he ain't light skinned, I don't want him. Like, cause in my head, I feel light skinned within. I got two light skinned parents, and at this point, I feel light skinned within. I hate to say that, but I
Can I
did
play devil's advocate here though for a
right.
moment?
Right.
For you to have felt like that, and for other people to have felt how they felt about dark skin, using your same how your thought process, were they wrong?
Um, I guess not. I don't know. I guess not.
Because that means it's just somebody for everybody.
Right. And you right. And you right, but you got to think I was 10, 11, 12, 14, 16, and I'm just using numbers for an example. It, you don't know what you don't know. All I know is there is somebody for everybody, and everybody has a
Mm-hmm.
preference, but the preference is never me. The preference is always, if they picking a girl, it's always the girl that's light skinned with the good features. It's always, Becky with the good hair. Like, seriously, word to Beyonce, but Becky with the good hair. So it's just like, it made me feel like, again, it made me feel like, what is wrong with me? And I went through like this self hatred, and I guess dark hatred, just being honest, and going back to, I felt like, going back to what I said earlier, when my auntie would tell me as a little girl that my great grandma wouldn't like me. I literally felt like I embodied her. And what I mean by that is, she didn't like dark skinned people. I don't know her reasoning. I was told, because you got to think, she was long, long, long dead before I was born. So I was told that, she was very, very, very dark. I'm talking like what most people would, when you got picked on at school, what most people would consider 12 o'clock midnight. And again, this is no disrespect to anybody that is darker skinned, but she was what most people would consider 12 o'clock midnight. She was very, very rich. She had very, very rich dark skin, and I don't know what she went through. I don't know what she experienced. I don't know. Maybe she was bullied. Maybe she was made ashamed, and that shame can sometimes turn into not only just hatred of yourself, but hatred of people that look like you, and then you internalize that by seeking people that look opposite of you. Hence, you dark
It's
skin,
deeper than that.
and you
It's
and
deeper
you
than that.
seek you and you seek,
It's
like, and it probably is, and it probably is. That's why I said I
when you
don't know. I
think
don't know
back
her
to the
wrongs.
slave days, you remember they would let the lighter people in the house and the
That
darker
too.
people out in the
Yeah,
yard.
that too. And
This
maybe
is
that,
generations of that thought process
and
and of
maybe
black
that's
people
what she
telling
went through.
ourselves, I
And
want to
maybe
be the good, I want to be looked at as good. So now we're thinking light, 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 and it just screwed us up for generations. It's a generational curse amongst black people to feel like
right,
that.
exactly. And maybe that, yeah. And I assume that that could be what she went through. She was born many, many years ago. So I do believe that she probably was born like during slave times, and that had a lot to do with, the way she felt. And even if you look at my great grandfather, which is her son, if you look at him, I mean, literally, you look at him, he could pass for a white man, and you know i I don't know. I just feel like, that's why I say, I just feel like maybe I, just looking at me and taking accountability, I feel like maybe I embodied a little bit of her. I feel like I had so much self hatred of me, and guys that looked like me that would shame me for being dark, that I was just like, okay, well, I'm gonna just go and see if somebody light skin will like me. But then the older I got, I just kind of realized that that was really stupid. And again, I always go back to crediting people who open my eyes. And again, I have to credit my best friend, because she literally was like, "Girl," because me and her kind of used to be, we act very similar, and she was like, dare I say, we almost act like twins most of the time. And she was like, "Girl, I used to be like that. I used to be, oh, light skin, light skin, light skin, oh, this, oh, that." She was like, "Girl, I had to drop that." She was like, it's just stupid. Like, she was like, sometimes in order to find, you know your person, or a person that really loves you, you gotta drop all them stupid stereotypes and all, "I want him to this and this and that." And I'm not saying you don't gotta have standards and morals, but sometimes we have really, really, really stupid preferences, and you could really miss out on somebody that is like everything on whatever your list is just because you like, oh, he dark skinned, so I'm not gonna talk to him, or oh, she ain't really
I
like
don't
me.
know. I'm going to stand on the opposite side of the fence with it. I think it's very important that we are physically, emotionally, and spiritually attracted to a person.
And you
I think if
should.
you see somebody and you're like, oh, they're so perfect on so many levels, but I'm not physically attracted to them, you are not going to want to be with that person in the long run. You're going to be miserable
Yeah,
if you
but
say,
that's a real far extreme though. Like I do understand. I'm not saying that attraction is not important, but what I'm saying is sometimes if you at least, I'm just saying, for example, if you have like 1,000 things on your list, like drop it down to like 500, and then drop it down to like, you know what I mean? Like that's what I mean. Like people be like people
you
in
say
because
stop being extra picky,
and
be
I am
realistic.
people because I was extra picky and like that's what I'm saying. What I'm saying is she opened my eyes to the fact that sometimes we can literally, as you said, we can just be extra damn picky, like too damn picky. Like it's not that deep. You can literally miss out on a person you're supposed to be with because you being just so extra. Like I told you, one of the guys that I had a super strong attraction to. I literally heard this man say out of his mouth, "Oh, I don't date girls like that. I only date white girls with red hair." Like, but what if your dream girl, who everything that you want her to be, what if she a brunette? You see what I'm saying? Like, you can really. All I'm saying is just drop it down a notch. I'm not saying like you got to pick the ugliest person in the world and not be attracted to them, and then you turned off. And yeah, they check all your boxes
Yeah,
like you said, but then you turned off, so then you out doing them wrong and moving foul and cheating or doing whatever you're doing. But what I'm
because
saying
that's what'll
is,
happen.
we just be taking it too far, and like sometimes we put entirely too much emphasis on things that do not matter, like skin color, and then you don't realize that when you putting somebody down for like their skin color, as I just stated again, it can literally make them, anxious or depressed or make them feel not good enough. Now they around here self-loathing for no reason. Because I mean, they self-loathing over something they really can't control. I can't control that my skin look like this. My skin look like this because this is the way that God wanted my skin to look. How you gonna hate me for something that I didn't pick? It ain't like I went in the factory and I just said, yeah, I'm gonna just make myself dark skin. Like or I'm gonna just make myself light skin, or I'm gonna just make myself Puerto Rican. No, like God made each and
I
every one
think
of us exactly the way we are.
the irony with all of this, being this is an episode about depression, being this is like we're talking about self worth, is the true key to all of that is loving yourself, embracing yourself, and saying, you know what, I am so happy with who I am, and making yourself available for the people to come into your life.
Right, right. You hit that.
Because once you start doing that, they'd be like, you know what, this girl got 10 people waiting outside to marry her because she just so deep into loving herself. That's just
Right,
how life works.
right. And I do feel like that. I truly agree. And that's kind of like the space that I'm trying to get in. I'm just trying to each day find little ways to just appreciate myself more and more. And of course, we we all at that age where everybody's like, when are you gonna get married? When are you gonna do this? When are you
Mm-hmm.
gonna bring somebody around? And I'm just like, honestly, I'm not in a rush. I'm not thinking about it. I'm not trying. I'm not saying that. I mean, of course, this human walk, if you're alone and you don't have a partner or friends or anything like that, it is a natural human reaction to be lonely. And I'm not saying that I don't
Yes.
get lonely, but my thing is, I'm just trying to make sure that I am my best self, because the last thing that I want to do is have like a man that is not perfect but perfect for me come into my life, and then I mess that up because he can't handle me as I am. So I'm just trying to clean up as many loose ends as possible. I'm not saying that I'm gonna clean up everything, because I mean, the average person, ain't nobody perfect. A relationship is literally two imperfect people coming together and making their differences work, making them fit like a puzzle, and then just working it out and going with the flows. But I'm just trying to it's just a lot of things that I feel like I still got to work on. So I'm not in a rush. And like I said, self love and things like that is definitely a huge part of
of that list.
why I want to stay exactly where I'm at right now. Right. Exactly. Yes, exactly.
I agree.
Right. So now that we are here, I think this is a good segue to the next question. So the next question is what do you believe can onset depression? And I guess, or more importantly, what are the signs of anxiety and depression? I think this is an important question because a lot of people sit back and reminisce, especially if you have like a family member or a daughter or somebody like that who dealt with anxiety, depression, or a son or whomever, and you're like, oh, I didn't even see the signs. So this is the what are the signs so that people can know to start paying attention to certain things.
Um, again, I told, like as I mentioned earlier, I'm just speaking again. I can't speak for everybody.
Right.
For me, depression doesn't have a sign. I know a lot of mine is triggered by self worth,
Mm-hmm.
how I view myself. As you mentioned, I view myself. I get in these cycles. I tear myself down. Some of the days where I felt the happiest and people have told me I brought joy into the room are the most has been the most miserable days for me. So
Mm-hmm.
I can't I don't know what that looks like because I say
To me,
I prepare myself to get in these spaces.
just to interject, and I didn't mean to cut you off, but to me, because I do have a list here, and I was gonna go down the list, but to me, I feel like that would be kind of you could kind of put that into like the extreme moods category. For example, like a symptom of depression, I mean, especially if you like look it up and you start doing like actual research, one of the things that they will point out is like extreme, you're on like the extreme of moods. For example, so you can have like just random, as you said, because yours is random, but just random
Oh,
periods of like
I
prolonged.
probably worded
What
that
you say?
wrong.
Oh,
No, I
what you?
didn't mean it that
Oh,
way. I mean that and this is something I'm struggling with now.
mhm.
This is not past.
Right.
I will know that I will feel so freaking miserable to where I can barely function.
Mm-hmm.
But I will know when I get in front of someone or I have to interact, I will overcompensate for how I feel.
Mm-hmm.
So it's not that my mood is changing. It is literally me putting on an act because I don't want them to know that I'm in the space that I'm in.
And so then again, that kind of still goes along with what I was saying. Overcompensation. I will go ahead and just add, and I didn't have that on my list, and that is an excellent point. Sometimes overcompensation, like going over and above, going to the extreme, some kind of overcompensation, or going the extra mile sometimes to put on a front, that could actually be a sign of depression. And then going into what I was also gonna say, like extreme, like prolonged sadness, and then even like just you could go from like prolonged sadness to like a sudden burst of happiness, or even sometimes again going back to something that is seen in African American people. Sometimes people don't understand, specifically with, like I said, with African American people, and sometimes specifically with African American women, but people in general. I think it could go both ways. Sometimes when you have a short fuse, or you really easily angered, or you just, soon as somebody say something, you just ticked off immediately. That is like a fight or flight, and that is literally a sign of like anxiety and depression, because your body is literally in like fight or flight. You are in immediate defense, and your body goes literally into like fight or flight, like fear mode. So that is another thing that I feel like people should pay attention to. A sign, whether you have a child or a partner or a spouse, if, like I said, if they have prolonged periods of sadness, that can obviously be a sign. That's an obvious sign. But sometimes if they
Mm-hmm.
have a prolonged period of sadness and then they just have a random period of like extreme happiness and it just comes out of nowhere, that can also be a sign. And a lot of times people are like, oh, I just thought that they were getting happier. I just thought that they were getting better. And sometimes it doesn't necessarily mean they're getting better. It just means that they're probably getting better at putting on the mask, but it does not. Everybody knows that a mask does not mask the problems. You know, the problem is still there. The issue is still there. So like, you know, a short fuse or being aggressive or even sometimes overly happy can also be a sign of like a depression
Yeah.
because you're masking. At least that's how I take it. I feel like another sign, just kind of piggybacking off of you, another sign, a common sign is social isolation. Um, just, you know, separate yourself, not want to be around people, not want to talk to people. People are in the room, you're in the corner. Of course, that's an obvious sign. But again, I feel like some of the not so obvious signs, which I wanted to bring forth obvious and not so obvious, because like I said, a
Mm-hmm.
lot of people are like, I didn't see the signs, and you don't even realize sometimes the signs are right in front of your face. So like prime example, like something like chronic fatigue. If you're always
Yeah.
tired or you have low energy, that could be a sign of depression or anxiety. What a lot of people don't realize is, you know, for example, overeating or even sometimes lack
Yeah.
of eating
You
um,
got me.
can also be a sign. Sometimes people think, you know, I think lack of eating probably would be more of an obvious sign of depression. And a lot of people will shame you if you overeat without even realizing that that can also be a sign of depression. Like, prime example, you can look at a show like My 600-Pound Life or something like that, and everybody is like, oh, they ought to be ashamed of themselves. How the hell you let yourself get that big? How you let yourself go? Ah, da, 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 without even giving the same amount of compassion that you give to somebody that has an eating disorder. The that has like a eating disorder like anorexia or bulimia, where they're or just
Mm-hmm.
starving themselves. It's like you give them grace, but then you won't give somebody who overeats that same grace. And both of them are still eating disorders. Both of them are sickness, and a lot of times both of them are onset by anxiety or depression. Even like I said, going back to My 600-Pound Life, if you watch those shows, a lot of the times when they get down to the root of why those people start eating, it is because of some kind of PTSD, some kind of traumatic situation, whether it be molestation, whether it be rape, whether it be whatever it is. And it just, food was the comforter. You know what I mean? So I feel like that is a not so obvious sign. Overeating. A lot of people, like I said, a lot of people put emphasis on under eating or lack of eating or turning down a plate for depression, but sometimes overeating and gluttony and being overweight is a sign that may not be so obvious. Um, of course, I feel like a obvious sign. I'm kind of going back and forth between obvious and not so obvious signs, just because these are things that I feel like people should know. Um,
Oh, this is a list from like
yeah,
a case study.
this is a lit. It's not necessarily a case study. It's really kind of like my own personal research, because you know I when I went to school, I minored in like psychology and stuff like that. So I've always been like really really interested in the mind and why people think the way they think and why people do what they do. And so I just do my own personal research. So this is just my own personal list, and of course, this list does not encompass like every single example. I just wanted to give people like a few examples, something that they could easily go to, almost like a little bulleted list, if you will, um, just to give
Mm-hmm.
people an idea. So another thing is that is obvious, I would say, I guess, is if you start noticing that somebody uh is having like a lack, or experiencing rather a lack of interest, or they are not as interested in the passions that they once were interested in. That I feel like is an obvious sign, because if you see somebody pulling away from something that they love, that's a telltale sign. Um, I feel like something that is not so obvious, or maybe it could be, is like an irregular sleep. Like if you have insomnia, or
Mm,
if you get too much sleep, if you just sleep all day long, or if you just don't sleep at all, or if you up constantly in the middle of the night, you can't get a consistent night sleep, that could also be a sign of depression. And I feel like a lot of people don't
yes.
realize that. So I feel like that is one that is not as forefront, I guess, if you will, or not as to the forefront as most of the others. Another one that I feel like is really good is difficulty concentrating. So, like, if you can't sit still, or you can't retain information, or you constantly feel like just a overloading feeling when people are trying to give you information, that could also be a sign that you may have anxiety or depression. Of course, the one that we have been pretty much talking about the most throughout this entire episode, self-hate and or self-criticism. If you notice anybody around you that is constantly, oh, I hate this about me, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, I hate this, that could be a sign. And again, I'm only giving you guys a list of signs, not to make this like gimmicky, but because a lot of people say, oh, I didn't see the signs, I don't know what the signs are. And like I said, the signs could be right in front of your face. Your child could be in a room locked with the door closed, don't want nobody there, social isolation. You walk in a room and you like, this room a mess, you ain't clean this room up, da 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 da. Lack of interest, or lack of motivation to do things, even regular things, i.e., cleaning. And the reason why I'm
Hmm.
giving you this list, because I want people to see it. Because sometimes, especially like in our communities, parents are so parents are so harsh, and they always like, you didn't do this, and that room look a mess, and da 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 da. And you yelling, and your response is to yell. But what you don't realize you doing is you just shutting them down further and further and further, because believe me, they already feel bad. They know that that room ain't clean. They just don't have the energy to get up and clean it. And that's what you don't understand. And then, in our communities, you know how our parents are. They'll be like, depress them dishes. But guess what? Again, me washing the dishes is not going to make me happy. It's not going to take away what I'm feeling in this moment. I don't even have the energy to get out of my bed, to walk from my bed to wherever the kitchen is. So, and these are the things that I want, people to understand. Um, and then another thing that from doing my own research that I realized, and I was like, wow, this one hit me. This one hit home for me, y'all. I'm gonna tell y'all that back pain, chest pain, and migraines. Um, what a lot of people fail to realize is all three of those things can also be linked to anxiety and depression. And I was like, whoa, that one hit me. I'm not even gonna lie to you. That one hit me really, really deep. And then again, another one that I wanted to bring to the forefront, and this is the last one that I have on my list. But of course, brother, if you have any others that you feel like I didn't touch on, you can feel free to add here. I'm just kind of freestyling in this part, because I really want people to understand, like, with real deal scenarios, what signs you can look for. So the last one that I put on my list is addiction of any kind. And a lot of people feel like, oh, addiction just mean, oh, you addicted to drugs. No, I mean, like, you could be addicted to food, you could be addicted to shopping. You always have a sense to, like, want to shop. You need to go out and buy things to make you feel fulfilled, i.e., again, going back to like shows on TV like Hoarders, people that are compulsive buyers. A lot of those people have anxiety and depression. And again, going back, Just like I said with the 600-pound life example, if you go back to a lot of those people that are on hoarders and different things like that, a lot of those
Mm-hmm.
people also have deep rooted issues. A lot of those people have also been molested. A lot of those people have lost children. A lot of those people have suffered miscarriages. And as a result, they take things and they hold on to those things because those things represent what they lack. So those are signs as well, like hoarding things, holding on to things, excessive use of drugs, excessive use of alcohol. If somebody, like I said again, if somebody, oh, I got a headache, oh, my back hurt, oh, I don't feel good, all of those things could be signs. And again, I'm just trying to, listener, whoever you are, I'm just trying to use simple scenarios, regular everyday scenarios. You be at work with your coworker and you so mad at your coworker because you done told them the same thing 700 times. They like, how do you do it again? And you like, I just told you how to do it 5 minutes ago. But again, that goes with difficulty concentrating, you know, or difficulty focusing, and that is a sign of depression. And I'm just using these things as or anxiety. I'm using those things as an example because these are everyday things that people experience in their everyday life that you don't even realize are sometimes telltale signs that somebody is struggling around you. Because like I said, a lot of people only want to know the signs when it's too late. You only want to know the signs when you're, you know, and I hate to go this far, but people only want to know the signs when their daughter jump off a bridge. Or you only want to know the signs when your son ran in the bank and shot 5 people. Then that's when you want to know the signs. And I hate to use those extreme examples. And this is no shade to anybody who has been through either of those things. This is suicide is not funny, and neither is harming anyone. But what I'm saying is, before it reaches any of those extremes, these are the signs, just regular everyday signs that people do not pay attention to. So, like I said, if your son is in the room, door closed, locked, clothes all over the floor, a mess, got headaches all the time, complaining of a backache, complaining of this, complaining of that, it's not because he's lazy. Or your daughter, it's not because she's lazy. It could literally be because she is struggling mentally. And, you know, that is basically what I wanted people to understand. Do you have anything you want to add to that? Because I know I was kind of long winded, but.
Oh no, I agree with you. I usually don't have like a list because I would have to use like real life comparisons. Um, so I don't have anything to add.
Okay. Yeah, and that's okay. I'm not saying you have to have a list. I just thought it was important to put like a general list. And like I said, this list is not conducive of like every case because everybody's different. So it could be some things that I did not put on here that are still telltale signs of like depression and anxiety. And even kind of going back to what you said earlier, and this is also something that I can relate to. If you go in the grocery store and you got crippling fear when you walk in the store and you like, oh my God, are they looking at me? Oh my God, are they gonna
Mm-hmm.
judge my outfit? Oh my God, are they judging the way I walk? Oh my God, do I have something on my face? Oh my God. And like you just literally are just trying to fight through walking through the store and you're feeling like that. That is a sign of anxiety. And that's a lot of people, and I like to think that I am one of those people. A lot of people are high functioning and they don't even realize it. Like literally, that is a total example of high functioning depression. And this is why, because you're still going to the store, you're still completing tasks, you're still checking off every item on that grocery list. But while you checking off them items on that grocery list, you worried about every person you walking past. Are they staring at me? Are they looking at me? What's going on? Um, oh my God, I gotta hurry up. I need to hurry up and grab these things because, oh my God, what if they're looking at me? I need to hurry up and get out of this store. I gotta go back home. I gotta get back home immediately. I gotta get in my car. I gotta get in my car. And like,
That's me.
right, seriously, and I know it's me too. It's me too. And a lot of people don't even realize that. And that's why, like, sometimes I go to the store and like randomly I'll go to like Walmart or something. And of course, you know, where I live, my Walmart, I'm liable to run into a lot of people I know. And sometimes people are like, I saw you in the store and you was walking so fast. Like, girl, slow down. Oh my God, I saw you in the store and you was in such a rush. I'm like, yeah, because you don't even know what's going on inside of my head right now. I am literally screaming in the inside, trying to hurry up and run top speed to get out of this store because there's so many people in here. So that literally, if you experience that, that is a sign of anxiety. And honestly, like I said, it is a sign of high functioning anxiety because you're still getting tasks done. You're still shopping. You're still checking things off of your list, but you still are fight or flight in your head. So, like I said, those are just things that I wanted to bring, to the forefront, just to give you a few examples of what it may look like or what it may feel like. Or, if you walk into, for example, if you get invited to, and I'm just giving a couple of examples. If you walk into a party, or you walk into somebody's house, somebody invited you to their graduation party, and you walk in. As soon as you walk in, you got to give yourself a pep talk before you walk through the door. And you like, you can do this, you can do this, you can do this. And then you open the door, and then everybody's looking at you, and you like, oh boy, here it goes. That is anxiety, because you literally have to pep talk before you step through the door. That is a sign of anxiety, and I have to do that a
Yes.
lot, especially if it's
Yeah,
somebody I
me
don't
too.
know. And even if it's somebody I know, I still still. So yeah, those are just examples. Like I said, it's no one size fits all. These are just examples that I wanted to bring to the forefront, because you never know who may listen to this. And the thing is, you never know who may listen to this and who may benefit from one of those examples, because literally, like I said, your spouse could experience that. Your wife could be going through that right now, and you like, what is, like, I don't understand what's going on with them. And it could literally just be just that they have anxiety, that they're struggling. Or sometimes, you could see prime example, like going back to my grocery store example. Sometimes even when I see people that I know in the store, and then they like call my name out real loud in the store, I automatically tense up, because it's a response to my social anxiety. Because now I'm like, oh my God, all these people that just walk past me, now they all know my name, or they all know what I do, or something like that. Prime example. Fun fact about me, this is something that I definitely realize is anxiety, and this is also another example. When I'm out and about and people recognize who I am, or they know about my business, and you notice I don't really shout anything out about my business, because I really want to keep, like, I do mention that I am a business owner, but I don't never mention like my business name or anything that I do. Because I just want to keep that
Wow.
separate. These are two separate entities to me.
Mm-hmm.
And I probably will at some point during my business segment when I get deeper into it. But I just want to keep these two things separate, because this is more of my personal journey, and I don't want to like throw. I'm a believer in keeping business and personal separate. However, when I am out and about and like somebody see me and they like call me out by my business name, because some people see me, they don't even call me my name, they call me my business name, and they just all loud, and they like, oh yeah, this is who I go to for blah 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 blah, and they yelling across the, like, I've literally had people like yelling across the store and stuff like that, and I am so embarrassed, and everybody looking at me.
That's awesome. They think they helping you,
And
like letting other
listen,
people know.
and they are, but again, my anxiety, I am in fight or flight mode. I am now immediately embarrassed, and sometimes even again, I would dare to say that even sometimes being easily embarrassed can be a sign of like anxiety, because your body literally goes into fight or flight mode. It just makes me uncomfortable. It makes me very
Yes.
uncomfortable. And then I get really anxious. I get really uptight. And then sometimes when people hear that and they like, oh, you offer XYZ services, blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah. Oh, can I get your information? And then now they in my face, and then now I'm uptight because I didn't expect for me to be talking to somebody. So now again, it goes back to the social anxiety. Now my social anxiety kicking in, and now they looking at me crazy because they asking me questions, and I'm like, and like they like, is there something wrong with her? Like, and I'm like, genuinely a little bit, yes, it is something wrong with me. I'm struggling right now in this moment because I wasn't prepared for you to ask me a question. Like, if I'm prepared, I'm a little bit better off. But when it's like sprung on me, the anxiety comes out. And I feel like that is like a great example of it, because sometimes, like I said, it looks different for everybody. But sometimes even situations like that where somebody could literally feel like they're helping you, and they are. I'm not saying they aren't. I appreciate when people speak for me. I appreciate when people, shout my business name and I'm not even in the room. I appreciate the people who go to bat for me. But sometimes when people put me on the spot, like my anxiety comes out like never before. And sometimes I just wish people would understand that, because like I said, sometimes you put people on the spot and it just puts them in a really uncomfortable situation. It's not that I don't appreciate the act, because I do. Anybody that shouts me out or that thinks enough of me or my brand or anything, I am uber appreciative of. But I'm
Yeah.
not gonna lie, it makes me so uptight, and then people be looking at me like, what is wrong with you? And again, I go back to the episode title. It's not you, it's me. It's me. Literally. So okay, so my next question is, do you believe that anxiety and depression always comes from being stuck in the past?
Do I believe that anxiety and depression come from being stuck in the past? Um, from my personal experience, no. I kind of take my life a day at a time. I kind of let go of the past and walk away from it a lot.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm gonna say no. Um, Probably from some people, I can see a root cause being from the past, but in my personal journey, I usually walk away from stuff or avoid it. So no.
Okay. Yeah, well, that's a good way to look at it. I mean, that's not a good thing to do. You should
I
confront
know.
it instead of walking away from it. And we all should. And this is not a personal attack on you, because I should confront a lot of things. And honestly, I feel like I am. Like with this podcast, this is my way to confront all the things that have been weighing me down. And that's why I be so persistent about these episodes, because I just feel like it's important, and I just feel like it's somebody out there that need to hear this. I may not reach the biggest audience ever, but it's somebody that need to hear this. Um,
Mm-hmm.
so I'm trying to think. Let me look. Let me answer my own question. I guess I kind of, just to piggyback off you. I feel like in a way it can come from being stuck in the past. I mean, um, I don't feel like in every case it is tied to being stuck in the past. Prime example, I just gave the example of like walking into the grocery store. If you walking into the
Mm-hmm.
grocery store, that's in the moment, you know. Um, but prime
Well,
example,
I will.
huh? What'd you say?
Sorry to interrupt
Uh
you
huh.
there.
Go ahead.
With my fear, okay, I want to say all of this, right?
Mm-hmm.
As I've gotten older, I've
Mm-hmm.
become hyper aware of myself.
Mm-hmm.
I have become hyper aware with any demons I've dealt with, everything. I'm hyper aware of how did I get there. I
Uh-huh.
think a lot of my anxiety with going to the grocery store comes from being raised in a poverty stricken environment where I always felt like I was in danger. I was very different from my surroundings. I
Mm.
always felt like I was going to be attacked every day if I just
Uh-uh.
go outside. And that was in every situation I put myself in. So now, as an adult, yes, that does still trigger me to get in those spaces. And it's something that I can, air quote, I'm working on,
Mm-hmm.
but I am aware of how I got there. I'm aware of all of my issues now, this place in my life.
That Listen, I just got a look. You almost took the wind out of me right there. That was awesome. That was a great way to, because I never thought about it like that. I never thought about it like that. Um, fun fact listeners, and this is just an honest and a transparent moment. Like the more I do these podcasts with my brother, and I know I be getting on his nerves trying to ask him to do these episodes with him, but the reason why I always ask him is because him and I, if you go back and listen to some of my earlier episodes, I think you kind of get that vibe. But as I stated just a few minutes ago, him and I, we have the same father and we have different mothers. So we were raised in two totally different environments. And,
Mm-hmm.
We essentially had two totally different upbringings, and we weren't,
Completely different.
yeah, and we weren't as close. So, I feel like, look, this is where I throw shade. I feel like
Never
I
at
tried,
fault of our own, though.
right,
Never at fault of our own.
right. I feel like I tried to be. I feel like it just didn't work because it was just like, how much can I do as a 8-year-old or a 12-year-old? I can't do much. I can't even drive. So you know what I mean? It's like it's not that I didn't want to.
I love
It
that you
was
said
just
that. That's why I
it didn't.
started off the podcast with telling you earlier. I was like, you've always met me with love. Um, Even when chaos was all around, and I felt like I wasn't welcome by other people. You have made us, and naturally, you made a special effort, even as a kid, to be like, I want to see you.
Right.
Like I want to be around you. I don't care what nobody else feels. I'm
And
like,
I'm
okay, I
glad that you
understand.
feel that way. And I'm glad that you feel that way because I really did try my hardest. And I was like, I got to the point where I ain't gonna lie to you. I was telling my mama, like, why don't he like me? Like, I'm like, I feel like I'm trying. Like, I like him. Why doesn't he like me? Like, like when you little, like, I like you. Do you like me? And I don't even necessarily, when I say that, like, please don't get the wrong idea, guys. I don't mean it like in a sexual or a weird way, but I mean it like in terms of this is my older brother. So I look at
Yeah,
you with the adoration rather of a little sister. Same way like most little sisters look at their brothers, and I just never understood why
it was
we
never
were
in life,
separate.
and I will stand on a jury stand, and they say, put my hand on the Bible. It was never you. It was always based off my relationship with our Father. That put me in a lot of places to be separated from everybody. I wasn't always truly uncomfortable, and I didn't feel like he really wanted me there to begin with. So it was, we got here. That's why I said I'm hyper aware now of where I'm at in life, and I'm at peace.
That's a good way to be, and that's beautiful.
Yeah.
I can't really say I'm at peace, but I applaud you are at peace. So I'm gonna live vicariously through your peace until I can fully find my own. Now I can say I'm working towards finding my own, and I feel like I'm in a pretty good place with trying my best to find my own. But I can say it is still a struggle for me. And some days I feel like I'm on my Erica Badu. In other words, I feel like I'm super zen, I'm super chill. I feel like I'm on top of it. And then other days I don't know. I be feeling like I'm falling off the wagon. But I guess that's a part of life. It's the ebbs and flows. You're gonna have the ups and the downs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, I did. I really did. I used to feel like, like, why doesn't he like me? And I I struggled with that. And I used to tell my mom, like, I used to be like, but I love him, but why does he want to hang with me? And, and I think it was just a lot because I didn't really, like, throughout my life, I never had, like, a ton of friends. So it was like, I wanted nothing more than for us to be like close, and I feel like we really can because I feel like honestly we like the same person. You just like
Yeah,
the male
yeah, yeah.
version of me, but like it just never lands. Again, I feel like every time I try, it just nothing ever lands. It never lands, and I just feel like
And I feel you on that. Like I feel you on that, and I apologize for how that came across. But it was, again, talking about the anxiety and depression. It was me, the fear of me dealing with our Father, like and all of that. Always, it's
right,
always been the same excuse for me. It's like, dang, because I know that that is somebody that you admire more than life, right? Um, we have different experiences with him,
right,
so it was always, how do I meet her and celebrate and be happy and do all these types of things when I know this person does not even treat me the same way. So it always, it left. I never wanted to offend you. I've never ever wanted to offend you or make you look at me in a different light or be like, how can this person feel this way about my dad? How can this person feel like, you know, this person who's so awesome and so God fearing and so great, how could they feel this way? But our experiences are different.
No,
And I
but
think
I
as a
know
kid,
our experiences are different, and I understand that you feel different. It's just my thing is I just and we being transparent here. I feel like I was caught in the crossfire, and I felt
for sure,
as a
absolutely,
kid, I feel like as a kid, I understood that we couldn't do much about it as kids. But I'm not even talking
absolutely.
about as kids. We couldn't do anything about that. Like, as kids, it's hard when you're in the middle of that. We can't control that. I'm talking about even now. Like, we're not kids anymore. Like,
I think we do a better job now. I don't think it's as good as it can be, but I think we do a pretty good job to be two adults that are like living life. You don't think so? I think we should probably make better efforts to hang
I,
out.
I don't. I feel like we kind of slack, but then that's just me. I feel like I feel like it
No,
could be
I
too
agree.
much.
Okay,
I
I'll
feel
take
like it
that.
could be like, honestly, I feel like we, and I'm just being honest. I feel like it's like 20% of effort. Like, I don't even feel like it's like 80% of effort or 60%
I'm gonna
of effort
agree.
or 40% of effort. I feel like it's like, matter of fact, no, I'm gonna be realistic. I feel like it's literally about like
Five,
yeah,
3 to 5.
I feel, yeah, like 3 to 5% of effort when like out of 100 though, like that's lacking to me. That's lacking to me. I feel
That
like
is
that's an
lacking.
issue,
That is,
and I
Brittany. You're
feel
right.
like life is too short, and that's why I keep saying
That's true.
like
That's
we
sad.
have got to do better, and I'm putting it on wax now. So I expect
That's true though,
you
especially because we're both grown now, and this is
to
like in our power. It's like,
hold.
come on now, Cedric. All your excuses are like BS because now we're grown as people. It's
Right,
sorry for
like
the
I
profanity,
mean,
but it's like,
oh no, it's fine. I told you I don't mind. But my thing is, yeah, we literally have like zero excuse. Like, like seriously, like both of us stay alone. So it's like there's no
yeah.
like you can roll up. Like anytime you come in town, just call me. So, and that's what I be telling you. And then like you come in town and then like you be like, oh yeah, I was there. And I'm like, wait, what do you mean you were there? I told you to call me. Why didn't you call me? So it's like it's that. And then it just makes
Let's
me feel
can we talk? Can
just
we touch
like
on that real quick? When
right.
I come in town, I'm usually flying in. I don't have a car. You would have to come get me. That's why I'm like, I'm not gonna say all of this. So I'm just like, oh, I was there for a day, instead of saying, hey, I just came here because it was like it's a very short. My trips are short. They're like once a year and they're very short. One time I didn't come home for like 2 or 3 years, and it's like I get off the airplane, see my grandma. That's kind of what I like. Let me see my grandma. I see my mom and I leave. It's never. It's so many different factors on that. Usually, I'll usually find your shop and be like, hey, mom, take me to Brittany's shop, which is why you always see her at the same time.
Right. Yeah, but again, but still, I understand your trips are short. I get it, and I respect it. And I know you want to see your mom and your grandmother first, and I'm not taking that away. But like, bro, like,
Make an effort.
call
Yeah,
me and be like, hey, I don't got much time. Hey, I'm in town. I mean, literally,
you're right.
if I
You're
see you
right.
for like 5 minutes, like if I see you for
It's better than
we
nothing.
get
You're
you
right.
to the airport. You know what I mean? Like that's not a problem. But
You're right.
so that's my thing. Then it makes me like, what is wrong with me? Like, why am I so bad? Like, I don't know, because I just feel like I have this like separation from not just you, but like all my brothers, and it's like I feel like I be trying, and I was kind of getting to the point. I'm not even gonna lie. You can ask my mom. I was like, I give up. I don't want to try no more. I don't want to try no more. I'm over it. I don't want to try no more with none of them because I feel like they don't like me, and I'm just I don't know what I'm doing wrong. Like clearly something in translation at this point, but
You have 3 brothers too.
I know,
That's crazy.
I know, and 3 brothers, and I don't talk to either one of them. Isn't it sad? Well, you probably the most. You I talk to the most, but again, 3 to 5%. So that's literally like so minuscule on the
I
scale of
barely even know,
we.
barely know their names, so
Right,
it's kind of where we at with that.
right. Yeah, for real. But yeah, we gotta do
Oh,
better.
hey,
We gotta do better though, because
yeah.
again, like I just said in the beginning of this episode, life is short. I just told you I literally missed my window. I missed my opportunity. So I just feel like life is so short, and it just don't make no sense to me that you have siblings in the world that you don't even talk to. Like, that don't make no sense.
That's crazy. That is. I agree, Brittany.
It don't make no sense. So, but yeah, I'm glad we got that out. That was a nice little therapy session. And
Okay, authentic. This is an authentic podcast
it
today.
is. It is. It is. It's always authentic.
It's real life out here, people.
I want to keep it. I want to keep it. Yeah, I want to keep it that way. Okay. So this next question, the next question is, do you believe that there are any pluses to having depression and or anxiety? Like, I know that's a crazy question, but is it an upside? Can you see a silver lining somewhere, even if it's one thing or something small?
I, and this is me reaching, like I'm reaching for an excuse.
Mm-hmm.
Only benefit I can say from depression is I've had a lot of time to reflect over stuff and think about it and see different perspectives. Just like how you just explained, sometimes I'm wrong. You just completely dismantled how I felt. I'm like, dang, she's right. Um, so I would just say just being able to think over stuff. Because sometimes when you're not like you on a hustling, bustling, moving, and you're happy and stuff, you don't stop and think. You just appreciate the moment. And with depression, you don't get to do that.
That's a great outlook. I feel like for me to answer that question, I don't necessarily feel like, and with this question, I want again listeners to understand I'm not promoting that you have, depression or anxiety. We're not saying that this is a great thing, because it's not all butterflies and rainbows. I'm just
At
saying
all.
that sometimes in the midst of even the lowest of low, you have to find a way to appreciate some kind of silver
Life.
in it. So that's kind of where I was going with that question. Um, for me, I feel like, again, it's not necessarily a plus, but again, I feel like I am reaching as well. But again, I feel like this is you can have a broad perspective. For me, I feel like the plus, if you will, to having, I guess, anxiety is that you I feel like a lot of times people can, sometimes people without anxiety, I feel, can go through life like with their guard all the way down, and they could be a little bit too trusting. I feel like sometimes if you have anxiety, like, you're more heightened of like the reality of like some of the things in life that may not be so positive that go on around you. So you're more likely to, not saying you're going to protect yourself in every case, but it's just you have more of a heightened awareness of what's going on around you. In other words, I feel like a lot of people just kind of go through life with their guard down. They don't pay attention. They don't, they're not paying attention for the snakes that could be around them and stuff like that. But when you're a person with anxiety, you peeping out everything. You looking at every scene, you watching every person, So I feel like that could be somewhat of a plus. It could also be a hindrance, of course, because I feel like everything that is a plus, it also always has a downside. It's just life. But I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like when you have that, like, when you don't have your guard down so much, like literally, you know what I mean? Like, some people are just like, I don't even necessarily know if like lackadaisical is the word here, but some people guard just be way down. Like, they just caution just be thrown to the wind. You see what I'm saying? So I feel like sometimes, like,
I
if
would love
you
to live
are,
like that though.
yeah, and I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that, and you should have a balance of that. I feel like everything in life you should have a balance, but I feel like some people literally have zero balance, and it's just all caution to the wind. Like, some people like never ever meet a stranger, and like every single person that they meet, they just invite them into their house, and that's what I mean, like stuff like that. And then you like not paying attention to like everybody is not a good person. Everybody does not have a pure heart like you. Like you might be inviting somebody in your house because you pure, and you got your guard down the whole time. This person really is like trying to set you up. So I feel like,
Ready to wear your skin around your house.
yeah, something crazy. You know what I mean? So, and I'm not saying that that happens in every case. I'm just saying that sometimes, you know, when you are anxious, you are a little bit more um cautious of like, or conscious rather, of what is going on around you, in my
I
opinion.
agree. I agree.
Okay. So the next question is, or the next thing is, for the people who say depressed, what are you depressed about? You practically, you know, you practically have everything you could ask for, or you know, you grew up with this, or even if you didn't necessarily grow up with a silver spoon in your mouth, people just say like depressed. What are you depressed for? So my thing is, I guess my question is, for that matter, um or my questions, I guess, would be, number one, why do you think that people equate material things with happiness, as if you have all this stuff, you're not supposed to be depressed? Or even if you didn't grow up with a lot of things, why do you think people always ask you like, oh, well, you had this or you experienced this, what do you have to be depressed about?
Okay. So two it's a two-part question. So
Yeah.
why do people get material things first? I am somebody who's guilty of this, right? When you're very depressed, you have to look for instant moments of being happy, right?
Mm-hmm.
That can look like buying yourself a new shirt. That can look
Right.
like you taking yourself on a trip. That can look like,
Right.
well, for me, buying myself a new computer, because that's when I can experience happiness from all my, especially from working so much. I'm like, I need to feel happy somewhere. So
Right.
that's just something that you could do for yourself, especially when you're by yourself.
Right.
Um, that's where the materials come into play. The second part of the question was, um, what did you say? You said
Oh
the
yeah, I was,
materials.
yeah, like why do people equate material things with, or why do you think people equate material things with happiness? Like, for example, somebody could look at you and they could be like, you know, and not saying that you just grew up with, you know, a silver spoon, but just saying like, they could look at you and look at where you are in your life now, and they could literally say like, oh well, you know, you live in a nice neighborhood and you got the most up to date computers and you got a nice car and you got a good job. What do you got to be depressed about? So that's what I
I
think.
love that question. And the reason I love that question is because this is something I have battled with a lot. My answer to that question is, in speaking from my own personal experience, why I can have these things and still not be happy. I have set such a high standard for myself that
Mm,
until I reach there, I'm not going to feel fulfilled.
yeah.
So
Mm,
I can have, to other people what looks great. But if I'm not where what my true vision for myself and what success looks like, I am not
right.
fulfilled or happy.
Ooh, yeah, that's good. Ooh, that's really really good, and that's so important, and that's something that I feel like a lot of people need to understand. But I also feel like too, and I guess this is another question that stems from that. Do you feel like sometimes we get so caught up, and I'm gonna answer this question as well, I'm gonna come back and answer it as well, but do you feel like we get so caught up in trying to gather or attain everything that we want to attain in this life,
Mm.
and we're just on this never ending cycle of, I mean, essentially, like, just being honest, we on this never ending cycle of like never getting anywhere fully. What I mean by that is, I don't care how much stuff you attain, it's always gonna be another level that you're trying to get to, and another level that you're
Yeah.
trying to get to, and another
Yeah.
level, and another level. And it's like you're never gonna reach that. You're gonna spend your whole life like,
Mm.
oh yeah, I just need that. Oh yeah. Then you get that. You like, okay,
You're
got it.
missing out on a moment. I
Next.
love that. You're missing out on what's going on right
Right.
now by doing that. That's a
Exactly. And you
great point.
like next, and then you like, okay, well, now I got this. Now I want my own house. I want my own house, and I'm using house as an example because that's something that I really desire, and that's something that I really have been praying to God because it's been like impossible, like with how hard it is to get, to be a homeowner in this day and age, and how prices of homes is like impossible for like our generation, a lot of our generation, unless you make really decent money
Yeah,
to even afford a house. So like, for example, you like, oh, I want a house, I want a house, I want a house, and then you get it, and you like, okay, I got a house now, and you really don't even appreciate it because now you got it, and you like, okay, well, next, and then you go on to the next thing. You like, oh, now I want, and I'm just making up stuff because these are things that I
I love this.
want.
It's a
So
great
like,
point, though.
prime example, oh, I want a Bronco or a G Wagon. And the only reason why I use that is because those are my two cars. I take a Bronco, and then when I get real rich, I want me a G. So like prime example, you get a Bronco and you get a G Wagon. You like, okay, got it. And you got it in the yard and you only can drive one at a time. And you got it in the yard, but you can still only drive one at a time. So now you got
Yeah,
this, and you like, okay, got it. And then you like, oh, okay, well now I want to reach the point where I could go in. I'm just making up stuff. I can go in, and it's probably backwards because I mean, realistically, if you could afford a G wagon, you could afford to do this. But I mean, like, then now you go and you like, I want to buy something directly from the Louis Vuitton store. I'm gonna buy stuff cash. I'm going to store and put cash down. So you get the cash. Now you got the cash. Now you in the Louis Vuitton store. The people looking at you sideways because you're black. You walking in the store. You put the money down. Whoop whoop whoop. Getting the stuff. Now you got this stuff, and it's just you're not even using it. It's just sitting in your house. And now you got that, and now you go on to the next goal, and 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 you're like never fulfilled. And you
living in
just
a moment.
yeah, and
Yeah.
it's like you said, you just not even living in the moment. You just letting moments and moments and moments and moments just keep passing you by because you want all of these things and you want all of this stuff. And there's nothing wrong with wanting stuff because it's a lot of things that I want and I need, but or not even just things I want, things I need. Uh, and I also feel like there are a lot of things that God has in store for me that I guess He feels like I'm just not ready for yet. Maybe I'm just not at the
Hmm.
place where I'm ready for it yet. I feel like everything has an appointed time. Everything, life, death, stuff. It all has an appointed time in your life. Um, but yeah, I just feel like sometimes we could just be endlessly chasing, you just endlessly chasing nothing, essentially. Like you getting this stuff, but you still on a chase. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't aspire to have more and want better for yourself and constantly want to learn and constantly want to elevate your life, because I do feel like a lot of people may beg to differ, but I do feel like God did not put us on this earth to consistently suffer. I feel like He put us on this earth also so that we can enjoy the beauty in everything that He created, from traveling around and seeing different places, living different places, going here, going there, just experiencing life, just like you said, and not just letting it pass by because we so caught up in getting all this stuff, and then when you don't get it, now you depressed. Going back to the conversation, now you depressed, now you sad, now you, oh, I'm not as good as whoever your favorite, now I'm not as good as this person, or no, I'm not as good as, oh, my favorite cousin who got everything I want, or oh, I'm not as good as my best friend who got the life that I desire, or oh, I'm not as good as whoever my favorite content creator that got all this stuff that I want, that stuff and I don't got that stuff. And now you're comparing yourself, and now this comparison is literally leading to depression and anxiety, because now you feeling like you're inadequate because you don't have what they have, or you can't get what they have at the age they got it. Prime example, you 32 and you feeling bad because they got a house when they was 22, or whatever it may be. But yeah, to answer that question, I think, to go back to that, I think that people saying like depressed, what are you depressed about? it really bothers me because, like, prime example, again, me and you had two totally different upbringings and lifestyles.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And for me, a lot of times people would get on my nerves with that because I like to say that I grew up spoiled. I didn't grow up. Here's the difference. Here's what I want people to understand. I grew up spoiled, but I never grew up selfish or self-centered. And that's what I want to put. And I stamp that. I never grew up selfish or self-centered. I literally am the type of person that will give you the shirt off of my back. I don't care. I don't care if I just got it. If you need it and I got it, that's just the type of person that I am. I want people to understand that because people think when you grow up spoiled, when you say, "Oh, I grew up spoiled," people automatically tense up and instantly their first reaction is, "Oh, you think you better than me? Oh, you think you God's gift to the earth? Oh, you think? Oh, you think? Oh, you think?" No, I never once said I thought I was anything. I never
Who
once
are
said
these
I thought I
people?
was better than you. No, it's just a lot of people feel like that. You'll be surprised how many people envy people who have things that that they want or whatever like that.
Are
Or
these people you personally know, or just a general statement?
both general statement, it's both, and it's people I know. Like people feel like, okay, so like prime example, one of my friends, um she okay, so one of my friends, she grew up without her, she grew up without her father. Like she knows who her father is, but they didn't really have the best of relationship, kind of similar to how you and dad are. So she grew up like that, and I remember like sometimes she would come over and she like if I felt bad about something or if I felt a way about something, maybe like my parents wanted me to do and I felt down and I felt like they don't understand, they don't get it, and I felt sad or I felt anxious or I felt depressed about something that maybe they told me to do, that I'm like, but y'all don't understand, like y'all don't get it from my viewpoint. Y'all are not seeing what I'm seeing. And then, she would say stuff to me like, "Oh, well, like you got your dad in your life and your parents are together and like at least your family is together. So like what do you gotta be sad about? Da 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 da." And I'm like, listen, it don't matter whether your parents together or not, whether your parents ain't together, whether whatever, whether you got a silver spoon in your mouth or whether you don't. If you depressed, you just depressed. You can have
Right.
you can have every piece of this. What I need people to understand, you can have every piece of material thing. Like I said, I grew up spoiled. I, like a lot of the things that I wanted, I got. I was a good kid. I didn't give my parents any trouble, and anything 9 times out of 10 I asked them for, I got it. But I still struggled a lot. Your struggle, your anxiety, your depression has nothing to do with how you grew up. Because I just told you I grew up pretty well, and I still struggle. Think about it. Think like people act like struggle is only synonymous to poverty, or people act like struggle is, and when I say struggle, I mean like I mean mental struggle, physical struggle, emotional struggle. They feel like it's only equated to a poverty lifestyle, and that's not true. Why? Like, because I'm like, think about it. Why do you think so many millionaires and billionaires and stuff be jumping
Kill
off of
themselves.
bridges and stuff? Exactly, and be killing themselves, and even if they don't kill themselves, be attempting suicide, taking pills, trying to end it all. And you sitting around like, oh well, again, you looking at them like, well, you got this and you got that and you got cars and you got houses and you got everything that anybody, that the average American could ever dream of, but they can still be unhappy because the thing is, all of the things that you think they have, eventually when you get a lot of that stuff, it literally just becomes stuff to you. It like once you attain a lot of that stuff, and that's kind of what I was just saying. Once you attain a lot of that stuff, it's just like, okay. Like I remember I was talking to my auntie, and you done been around my auntie, so you know that she has attained a beautiful life, a life of wealth, a life of abundance, and everything. But you also know, since you met her, you know where she came from, you know what she had to overcome, you know all of those things, and God has blessed her to where she literally went from rags to riches. And you know, I did an episode with her as well, you know, literally on how you come from the bottom. This girl came from the east side, Sparing Street, Jacksonville, and now she went from Sparing Street to a penthouse. You know what I'm saying? And from a penthouse to now she has her own house. You know, but still, you know, she went through all that, and she has like so much stuff. And I remember her telling me, and she tell me a lot even when I talk to her, you know, sometimes now, which again, I don't talk to her a lot. You know, I don't talk to her a lot, but you know that story. But the reality is, even with her, she was telling me one day, like, man, when you get to a certain level, you realize that a lot of the stuff that you thought was important really is not that important. Like, and she was like, seriously, like, I could go in, for example, I'm just making up something. She was like, I could go in the Louis Vuitton store and buy a Louis Vuitton bag that I always wanted, and I get the bag, and literally the bag still sitting on my couch 3 weeks later. I ain't even opened it.
Mm-hmm.
You know what I'm saying?
Mm-hmm.
And it's just like, that should tell you that no matter what it is that you're chasing, and I'm not saying that you shouldn't go after what you want or fight for what you want or continuously go after the things that are important to you. That's not what I'm saying. I'm not saying give up or let it go or let go of your dreams. That's not what I'm saying. But what I'm saying is, sometimes, literally, basically, just to dumb it all the way down, everything that glitters is not gold. You can get all of that stuff, and you can still, if your mental ain't right, and this goes back to this conversation, you can have every single thing on this earth. Like, I mean, literally, God could just open the floodgates for you and just bless you with every single thing you ever wanted, all kind of material stuff, the car you want, the money you want in your bank account, the this and this and that. But if your mental ain't right, I promise you, none of that stuff will mean anything to you. You'll just be sitting in there and you'll be like, oh my God, I got all this stuff. And again, I got all this stuff and I'm still sad. I got all this stuff and I'm still
Yeah.
lonely. I got all this stuff and I ain't got nobody to share it with. And I mentioned this on one of my other episodes, and I'm gonna mention it again. Um, Ari Lennox has I forget what
Who
song.
is Ari Lennox?
Ari Lennox is
Oh, okay, Shea
the
Butter
artist.
lady.
She the artist.
Shea Butter something.
Yeah, Shea Butter Baby. Yeah. So
Okay, okay.
Ari Lennox has on Shea Butter Baby. She has I can't remember what song it is. It's either, I think it might be New Apartment. She got a song New Apartment, and I brought this up before on this podcast, but I'm bringing it up again. I think it's the song called New Apartment. I'm gonna have to listen to it, and then I'm gonna listen to it and send it to you so you can hear it. But
Thank you.
she has this part in the song, and it's at the end. It's after the song is over, actually, and she like talking, and she like I'm lonely, and oh my God, and I just realized that I literally have nobody to teach me how to Dougie. Like, so basically, in so many other words, she was saying, like, I reached a pinnacle. I reached somewhere I always wanted to reach. I knew I could sing. I reached a level of my career. I put out an album. Like, think about it. How many people can say, even though I know it kind of hurt her that her album might not have gotten the recognition that I definitely personally feel like it deserved, because I'm an Ari Lennox fan. But still, like, you did something that the average person will probably never be able to do. Like, the average person ain't just releasing albums. I mean, people can, but you know, you release albums, you going on tour, you signed to J. Cole, which is like, you know, J. Cole is like one of the biggest rappers. You signed under him, you under his mentorship. You're doing something that a lot of people really wish that they could do. You know, there are some people right now who can sing just as good as you. There are some people right now who can sing better. And that ain't no diss to her, because like I said, I love Ari Lennox and I love the way she sounds. So if you hear this for whatever reason, don't come for me. But um but I'm just saying, there are people literally right now who can do exactly what I'm doing, who can do exactly what you can do, who can do exactly what she
Yep.
can do. And they will never, you know what I'm saying? And I don't mean no shade, but some of them will never get the opportunity to do it on the level that you did. Somebody somewhere right now is wanting nothing more than to put out an album, and you've done that, and you've done that multiple times, and all of your projects have been amazing. You know what I'm saying? But that's something that she was going for. But like I said, in the excerpt, or the little, I forget, like the little snippet, she basically said, like, in so many other words, I got all this and I got all that, but I'm lonely and I literally got nobody here to teach me how to Dougie. And it's crazy and it sounds funny, but at the same time, it's like you get all this stuff, and the stuff that actually matters, you know, you still can dwell on the things that really essentially matter the most. Like, in other words, going back to what she said and tying in what my auntie said, you can get all this stuff, and at the end of the day, what truly matters is mental peace. What truly matters is having connection, human connection, whether that be romantically, whether that be through family and friends, whether that be whatever. That's really what matters. All that stuff, of course, we want it. I'm not even gonna sit here in front. I just said it. Look, if I could get me a G Wagon today, baby, I have one today. I'm talking about immediately. If I could get a brand new house on the beach, I would have that today. You know, if I could get debt free and have no debt, no
Yes.
credit card debt,
Go back to the debt free.
for
Oh,
real,
yes.
no student loan
Preach.
debt and all that stuff, I would, oh my God, I would have that yesterday. You know,
Your student loan debt didn't get wiped out by the Joe Biden.
I wish. I'm praying.
A lot of people's
Look,
own been getting wiped
I
out that I
know.
know
I'm
they've been
praying.
like it just popped up.
I'm like, oh Joe, please don't pass me by. For real, don't pass me by. Because you know they had us fill out the student loan form, like, to see if you qualify, and I did, and I have the approval letter in my email still. But
I say just wait for it. It just
I'm
popped
just
up.
like waiting.
Like just wait.
I'm just waiting. I'm like, please don't pass me by, because oh my God, that would take so much of a strain off of me.
Oh,
Like,
a blessing
for
it
real.
will be. I know.
Oh,
I
so
know.
much of a strain. Because I'm like, look, I got the proof, man. Like, it ain't like I'm one of these people that went to college and played around. I got all 3 degrees to prove that
Yeah, just wipe it out.
just wipe it
Fix my
out.
life,
Just
Joe.
wipe it out. Don't pass me, Lord. Don't pass me by. But yeah, so basically, yeah, I was just basically, I'm just saying that you can have all of these things, and it still is not going to make you happy. That's basically what I'm saying. So to all the people who are like, oh, depressed, what you got to be depressed about? You got this and this and that. Trust me, sadness don't care that you pulling up in a Ferrari. Sadness does not care that you pulling up in a G-Wagon. Sadness does not care that your house sit on 70 acres. Sadness does not care that you riding on your yacht on the, you know, on the lake that sit on the back of your property or
I
whatever.
know sadness don't care, but I want that sad life so bad
Look,
that you're
I want that
describing.
life too.
But
I want all that, baby. I want all that. I'm trying to have the soft life, okay? I'm trying to be a content creator by day and just I want to do by night. I want all that. I need the TikTok life. But then again, I'm also, I say that jokingly, and I say that jokingly and for real. When I was at my uncle goddaddy, all that good stuff, when I was at his viewing last night, actually, when I was at his viewing, one of his aunts was talking, and she was telling a story. She really was dang near like embarrassing her nephew, and she was just telling this story and cracking everybody up about, you know, what they used to do in the past, and oh, how they was so bad, and they used to come over her house and tear it all up and all that stuff. And she told this story, and everybody was laughing. Everybody just started laughing. And literally, you know how most people be like, "Oh, I'm just playing." She was like, "Oh, I'm just serious." And I was like, "Hey, I'm finna steal that." So trust me when I say I'm just serious. I'm just serious. I is that baby. That's word to his auntie. Cause I'm gonna tell you, baby, when she said that, I was like, that's right on time. Cause baby, I'm just serious. I want all that too. Like I would love to experience a life where I have a lot of where I can just see the beauty of life and just be on the other side where I'm not hustling and bustling and feeling like I'm working myself half to death to get nowhere. Like it's literally like I feel like I got like literally I got a day job. I got a full-time day job. I run a full-time business. Just trying to do both of those things at the same time is so hard. Then on top of that, I got like 17 side hustles and it's still not enough. I'm still on the struggle bus. So it's like I would love to experience a life on the other side where I can just have nice things and walk in the abundance that I know that God has for me. But it's like at the same time, I again going back to my anxiety, I feel like I want those things, but then I'm like, oh shoot, my mind immediately goes into, oh shoot, what's the trade off? Because what people fail to realize is with anything, I don't care how good it look, I don't care how shiny that car look with a bow on it and everything else, there's always a trade-off. I remember I was following this girl, and again, I'm not saying her name for clout or anything like that, but there is this girl that I was following, and her name is Brianna. And she was really, or I think she still pretty popular on social media. She was a wag. A wag is a wife or a girlfriend of a professional athlete. So she was a wag, and she's no longer with him, but at the time she was with him. And I've been following her for years. And I remember when she first got her G wagon, and she was so excited about it. And I promise you, just it seemed like not even that long after she had got it, she was just like, "Oh my God, this G wagon getting on my nerves." Every time she was like, "This G wagon getting on my nerves. I love it." She was like, "I love it," but it's like every which way you can turn to the left too hard and the windows cracking, and oh my God, she was like, something hit my window. Like, you know how I think about it, like you driving by and a piece of gravel or something hit your window. She like, oh my God, I done had to replace the windows in this G-Wagon like the front window. She like, I done had to replace the front window in this G-Wagon like 3 times since I done had it. I ain't even had it that long, and the windows are so expensive. And she like, this is so annoying. It's making me fall out of love with this car. She like, I don't even like this car no more. She like, this was my dream car, and I don't even want this car no more because it's been such a headache. And she was like, I even have been doing my own research on this car, and she was like, this is a known issue where people who own G-Wagons were, again, G-Wagon, please don't come for me because that's my dream car. But he was like, oh my God, this is a known issue where people who own G-Wagons were complaining that, at any little teeny tiny thing, their windows was just cracking. I'm talking about like cracking all the way down the window, like the whole window, just a crack from the top to the bottom. And it was like expensive to replace. And sometimes not only is it expensive to replace, but sometimes it's impossible to find the glass again because even car parts and stuff are still in short supply. Like it's a lot of stuff people don't realize. Yeah, our world has went back to air quote normal, but there's a lot of stuff that's still on short supply. There's still a lot of people who, products and stuff ain't getting delivered as fast. There's still a lot of stuff on back order, backed up. There's still a lot of people who, were driving trucks who are upset. Trust me, it's still a lot of shortage. it's a ton of shortage. So, you know, it's just, and I know that was a small example, but it makes you wonder, like, what, or at least it makes me wonder, what is the trade off? Like, you can get all these things and have all of this stuff, but what is the trade off? You can have all this stuff, again, going back to what I said, you can have all this stuff and still be totally unhappy. So that's just something to think
That's
about.
true.
So then my next question is, do you think we live in a generation that either glorifies and or overdiagnoses depression and anxiety, or do you feel like more people are just being transparent about it?
I'm honestly going to say, so I feel the opposite of the whole question altogether. I feel like a lot of people aren't even aware that they're depressed.
Mm,
Um,
okay, that's a good
I
perspective.
think more people need to self-diagnose so they can say, "Let me go to a doctor because something is wrong." So I feel the opposite. And this is from personal experience of me knowing people. I'm like, this person's depressed and they can't even pinpoint it.
Mm.
Um,
And let me interject. How do you know how do you know they're depressed? Like, what signs do you see? This kind of goes back to what I was saying earlier. What do you see?
Multiple, like from the list that you described earlier, it could be lack of motivation. It can be them just feeling down and they don't know why they feel down. It just depends on the situation. It's been multiple people with multiple different scenarios, and me, just like you, being so well versed when it comes to depression because we've researched it and stuff. I can identify it a little bit more quickly than they can.
Makes sense. I respect it. That is a really, really good perspective. Okay, so let me give you a little backstory. The reason why I asked that question is because I find that with a lot of the um what okay, so what are like our moms and all of them? What are they? Because you know how people always be like Gen Z, Gen X, Gen whatever, baby boomers. What are they? Are they millennials as well, or are we millennials?
No,
Right? What are they?
we're millennials. They are.
What are they? Gen Z,
I think they Gen X, right?
Gen X. Okay, so I knew that was one of them. I'm like, I know we millennials. That's all I know, but I couldn't remember the rest. So with a lot of them, I noticed that a lot of them are like they say stuff like, "Oh, it seemed like every time you turn around, young people talking about they depressed. Oh, they claiming they depressed. They depressed. They depressed. Oh, that's like the new thing for young people to say. They wear depression like a pair of drawers. Like seriously. And I like, and I hate to put it that way, and I'm paraphrasing it, but a lot of our elders, I should say, tend to look at it like, oh, just another depressed youth, you know what I'm saying? Um, like, and so that's why I was asking, because it seems to me that like generations, our generations are, as you said, they're either totally unaware that they're depressed. They can't pinpoint what it is. They just know something is off. And, you know, again, like you just said, another sign is like, I just feel down and I don't even know why. Like you literally just said that, and
Hmm.
that's good. Like, because that's another sign. Like, if you asking somebody, you know, because a lot of people are like, okay, a lot of people are uh they try to be rather solution based. So most people are so solution based. They like, okay, well, let's get to a solution. So then somebody is like, you sitting there and you look sad or whatever. And I'm just giving a scenario. You sitting there, you looking sad, and somebody's like, what's wrong with you? And you like, I don't know. And they like, well, why you looking like that? I don't know. And they like, well, okay, how can I help you? And you like, I don't know. Like you like, I ain't trying to be funny, but like I don't know. I don't know how you can help me. I don't know what's wrong with me. I don't know. I don't know what I don't know. I just know that something ain't right. And they like, well, describe it. What do you feel like? I don't know. Like, and seriously, I say that because how many people do that? Like seriously, I've even been guilty of that. people ask me, and I genuinely don't know. I remember one time, like literally, I don't even know if my best friend remember this, but I was like on the phone with her one day, and I just was having a breakdown because I was struggling so bad. Like I like literally again, I using an actual scenario, I ain't had no motivation to get up out of bed. I had clothes, laundry on my bed that I was supposed to be folding, and I just ain't had the energy to fold it. I was just in my room. I would be crying. I would go in the bathroom and cry in the shower. I it just I just wasn't happy. And I remember my mama would be like, "These clothes still on your bed? Like, what are you doing? Why's you not folding these clothes? Like, having the clothes on the side of your bed, like, that don't make no sense. Fold them clothes." And I'm like, I don't have a motive. I don't feel like it. And I was talking to my best friend, and she was just like, "Well, like, what's going on?" Because again, people want to be solution based. They want to help you, especially if they love you. And I'm like, I don't know. I don't know what's going on with me. I just don't feel happy. I don't know why I don't feel happy. I just don't feel happy. I'm just not happy right now. I'm very upset, but I don't know how to tell you. I don't know why I'm upset. I don't know why. So, to me, I feel like that is a sign. A lot of parents take that as like, oh, you just making up stuff, or oh, you just trying to get attention. But sometimes, no, genuinely, it's not about getting attention. It's genuinely about I am genuinely sad. I'm genuinely hurting. I'm genuinely upset, and I have no idea how to even put into words what I feel because I don't know how to explain what I feel. I just know I don't feel good. So that is also a very important sign. Um, but but yeah, like I said, I just feel like there's definitely a disconnect, and a lot of elders they feel like, oh, y'all just be picking anything. Y'all just want to say y'all depressed just because y'all depressed. You need to stop putting that into the atmosphere and saying that you depressed. Stop speaking that over your life. And I do agree. There is definitely power in the tongue. I agree with that. You have to be very intentional about what you speak over your life. But at the same time, if you
Mhm.
know that it's something wrong and you notice like prolonged periods of sadness and different symptoms that I mentioned throughout this, please, 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 please reach out. Reach out to somebody you feel comfortable with first. And even if they like, and this is another note, if you reach out to somebody that you feel comfortable with and they don't take you seriously, please reach out to somebody else. A lot of people have a habit of like, you reach out, for example, to your mom and she like, boy, shut up. Or you reach out to your dad and he like, girl, go sit down. You know what I mean? If you reach out to them and they don't take you seriously, please seek a second opinion, a third opinion, a fifth opinion, a 12th opinion. I don't care if you got to reach out to 30 people that you trust. Even if you don't know 30 people, find find somebody to reach out to, a therapist or somebody, a old teacher that you trusted, a friend, or whoever, and really reach out to them, and really reach out to them and just talk to somebody and get it off, because I notice when you hold it in, it just makes it worse and worse and worse, and the symptoms can spiral. So with that said, I want to ask you this: what do you think, or what advice would you give somebody who is reaching out for help? Say, for example, you reaching out to your aunt or your cousin or something, and they're not taking you seriously, but you know that it's something wrong. And say, for example, maybe you don't have a support system, or you don't have friends, or you don't have whatever. What advice would you give them, or what would you suggest they do?
I'm going to actually steal what you said earlier and say you need to find someone else. And if you are in a situation to where you don't have someone else, you should probably seek community online, because there are a lot of online forums and other people that are looking like to help somebody like that. And I know, being in that space, I also want to say this. I know you'll feel like, well, they don't understand me. They don't care about me. So they're just telling me whatever. Um, you still need to make the effort to talk to somebody,
Right.
which I feel like my point was kind of dumb, but I think you get what I'm trying to say. Like, still make
Oh, no,
that
no, no, I
effort
get it.
still. Yeah.
Yeah, that's perfect, and I definitely would. agree. I definitely would, piggyback off of that. And I kind of said it, but again, just reiterating, please reach out to somebody, anybody. It's a lot of sources out there available, from anything from like BetterHelp to, there are hotlines and different things like that you can reach out to as well. With 24-hour support that you can reach out to. You can Google and, look online. Matter of fact, while we're talking, I can Google really quick and just get you like a source for, mental health, just in case you need someone to talk to.
I want
Um,
to follow back up on my point real quick,
go ahead.
because we authentic on this podcast. We're being straight up.
Right.
Um, that online community excuse that I gave is kind of
Mhm.
BS to me, right? Being
Mhm.
that I suffer from depression and anxiety, I will never think to reach out and talk to a stranger. What I will recommend that you do is
Mhm.
that you sit down if you don't have somebody to talk to and write those things out and look at them
Yeah.
yourself
Yeah.
and truly analyze them. That is some real life advice.
Yeah.
Um,
That's good.
if you don't have somebody, you start having to, you know, put yourself in therapy
Mhm.
and find, and I say counter however you're feeling with reasons why you should think positively, like be positive and be happy.
Right.
Um, on some of my darkest days, because I've reached point of action before, like point of like this is the end for me, is just remembering how much my mom loves me, and I'm like,
Right.
you know what, this person will not get over if something happened to me, so let me start looking for reasons
Right. And
why I shouldn't feel like this.
add me to that list if you ever get to that point again, which we gonna rebuke in Jesus' name that you're not gonna get to that point again. But seriously, add me to that list. Add me to that list. Like literally, even if it's not even necessarily like a plan of action, like ending your life thing, just on a day where you're not having a good day and you just like, oh, I'm just over it. Just if look, add me to the list, because sometimes it's best
Okay.
to have just more than one person to just know that they rooting for you. Add me to the list. Shoot, you can add my mama to the list. You know how much my mom loves you. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
She love you as if she birthed you. So
Yeah. Always.
just add us to the list seriously. And like I tell you all the time, if ever you need me, I am always here. You can call me at any time. But to just go ahead and not miss that moment and go ahead and interject, you can literally dial 988. I mean, seriously, it's as simple as dialing 988. And also, there are so many, other resources. Like you can go through, for example, you may be able to go through your employer, um, and see if they have any type of, you know, um, mental health resources that you can utilize. A lot of companies have where you can go directly through them and you can get um I forget what those things are called. Is it called an EAP? I can't remember what it's called. I have to get the correct name for it. But you can go through your company and you can get those, and you can use those to take, leave of absence, or you can go through your company and, they can uh go through your company and your insurance provider, whoever you work for. If you have insurance through your company, or even if you have insurance through a secondary company, then who you work for, you can go through your insurance provider and literally ask your doctor, like, hey, if you are a doctor goer, ask your doctor, hey, do you know of any therapists? Do you know of any affordable therapists? Any free therapists? Do you who are the therapists that are covered under my insurance? And like I said, you can also go on your employer website, like whoever you work for, and go on your employer website, like where you sign up for your benefits and stuff every year. And it has a breakdown out there that shows you like who's covered under your insurance and who's not. You can call the back of your insurance card and say like, hey, can you give me a list of therapists that are covered under my insurance? Can you give me a list of the therapists with the lowest or no copay? Because some of them, depending on your insurance, you could literally go to a therapist and pay a low copay or no copay at all, depending on how good your insurance is, for for just general therapy if you just want to sit down and you just absolutely have nobody. Like I said, you can also go through common, online resources like BetterHelp, or you can you can go through like I said, the 988, the suicide and crisis hotline, or just different the national mental health hotline, which is 866 903 3787. Again, that's 866-903-3787. And these are just like a few. Go ahead.
Before we close out for today, I want to backtrack. So
Mm-hmm.
just let me know, because I had thought about something when I was talking. But
Oh yeah. You can go ahead and backtrack. Now I have a couple more questions, but you can go ahead and backtrack. I don't
I
want you
want to
to.
backtrack real quick,
Mhm.
because I've been beating myself up for how I worded it earlier when we were talking about our father. I do not hate my father. I love my father. I believe he is a great man. My reservations come from our strained relationship based off efforts. It is not an outlook on him. I am not walking around saying I hate this man. He's an awful person. That would be far from the truth, and that is not how I view him. I thought about how it came off earlier, and somebody listening, they might say, "Oh, like get a twisted view or have a reflection on his character," and that was not based off his character at all. That was all.
Okay. Oh yeah, and that's good. And I'm glad you clarified it. I don't. I mean, I guess I know you, so I don't really feel like you
I know
had
you know
to
me, and I
clarify
know
because I
he
get it.
know, and
Right,
Nikki knows, but I'm just saying other people, like a stranger
right,
listening to this, I don't want them to think it's something else that it's not.
right. Exactly. Yeah, and I'm glad you got that off your chest. Yeah, I'm glad, and I'm glad you were, this. I'm glad that this is available for you to, get that off your chest and say how you feel because it's 100% your truth. Okay, let's see. Let me go through these questions. I'm trying to see where I'm at right now. Okay, so um, I guess, and I feel like I kind of asked this, but I just want to reiterate it because I don't know if we got like a set answer. So my next question is, why do you think that people, with I guess an emphasis on Black people, refuse to believe that their loved one is depressed or anxious until it's too late?
They didn't see the signs. They are not aware. They don't understand what depression looked like. So they'll say, and in this is most cases I've noticed in my experience, they didn't act like. They didn't seem like. They was laughing with me. He seemed happy when I was around him. She seemed happy when I was around her. So they were just unaware.
Okay, yeah, I agree. I second that. I just wanted your opinion. I feel like it's lack of knowledge, and I feel like a lot of us, specifically us meaning Black people, are literally unaware because a lot of, I ain't trying to be funny. I feel like probably 90 to 95% of Black people are high functioning depressive and they don't even realize it. That's why like sometimes even like our parents and stuff, we can sometimes be like, dang, she always yelling at me, or she always mad, or she always this, or she always that, or she always trying to hyper protect me. But a lot of those things, like trying to hyper protect your children or always yelling and fussing and screaming, and like again, going back to what I said earlier, those signs specifically in Black women that are often seen as, oh, excuse my French, but that's why I don't fuck with y'all Black bitches because y'all always angry. A lot, no, but seriously, like seriously, I'm being honest. A lot of men feel like, oh, that's why I don't mess with y'all Black hoes. Da 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 da. Y'all always angry, but anger and hyper-aggression, like being honest, anger and hyper-aggression a lot of times are the telltale signs of the fact that something is wrong, that that person is overly stimulated, that that person could potentially be depressed. It doesn't necessarily mean, because you could just genuinely be overstimulated, but at the same time those are also telltale signs. So I do agree with